Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. As always, it is Nick here, back to your daily crypto news and analysis. And today we are going to be talking about Xinfin Network, aka XDC. So with that being said, let's just dive on in and let's start off by looking at the overall chart. So I'm going to look at the all-time chart here. As we look at this, one thing is clear. We are nearly in my demand zone. One of the biggest things that I was talking about with XDC when we started to pump up to about roughly 9 cents or so previously is one thing. The one thing that I was looking at was backtesting resistance of support. 4.5 cents. 4.5 cents was support going all the way back to May of 2021. This was also after we ran up to about roughly 12 cents. Now, yes, recently we ran up to about like roughly 9 cents. I know CoinMarketCap is a little bit different. Like, for an example, this is only showing like 7 cents or so, but we do know that we ran higher. Either way, when we are talking about 2021, this seems to be playing into kind of the same exact price movement, unless we lose 4.5 cents, that is. So I'm watching to see if we lose 4.5 cents. It's going to be a big area, honestly, because if we do lose it, then yes, we will be seeing roughly around like the 3 cent zone for XDC yet again, which to me, hey, I'm not going to be mad about because I actually love buying XDC under 4 cents if that is going to be the case. Outside of this, I do still think that XDC is one of the most overlooked gems in the space, and it will also surprise a lot of people in the next cycle because I do think that it could pull some pretty high numbers in terms of market cap and also return on investment. Now, outside of all of that, let's talk about a few things that just recently happened. So one, Xinfin did rebrand their website. Is this a big thing? Not really, but it does give us a little bit more of a guide on what's actually happening behind the scenes, because the ecosystem around Xinfin has been growing tremendously over the last couple months, and I'm very excited for that. Beyond that, things are very simple now to find on the website. For an example, we could actually scroll down and we could see some of the major collaborators within the ecosystem. Also, utility. You can actually look at the dApps that are built on Xinfin, which don't worry, we will get into that here in a second. But I also want to show you guys the network metrics. So currently speaking, as we do look at the contracts, validators, and also even the transactions, we could see a little bit of an in-depth view here. Contracts, over 14,267 contracts right now in terms of network metrics. And we could also see the validators on the right and the transactions on the left. Pretty clear, pretty straightforward. But beyond this as well, we also see the ecosystem. So one thing that I've been very vocal about on the ecosystem side of things with Xinfin is a few of the major players. Some that really kind of stand out to me is Comtech Gold, Impul, as well as XSwap. XSwap is a great decentralized exchange building out on Xinfin. It's a Uniswap clone. Very, very great exchange. Globiance, everyone wants me to talk about Globiance. I just have not done enough research on it to really kind of talk about it heavily. But from what I have seen, it does look like a pretty decent decentralized exchange and overall platform as well. Then, of course, the ones that I'm very excited about. Yield Tech, TradeFinix. Metablocks is, I don't think, active anymore. From what I've looked into, I haven't really seen them update any of their socials. Or respond back to any messages. But a few other ones on here, like Plugin, for example, have been OG use cases on the network. TradeFinix seems to be mentioned twice here as real world application tokenization, and then also DeFi. But for the most part, I'm very excited to see the ecosystem growing as it has, and also some of the top tier projects still labeled here as, again, very incredible innovations, because as we look at Impul, for example, cross-border payments, big deal. And the rest, of course, you guys already know around trade finance, DeFi itself, tokenization, some incredible things happening behind the scenes. Outside of the ecosystem, though, I do want to talk to you guys about some of the updates that we've seen back in just last week. From October 8th to the 14th, we've seen some pretty big news. Some of that news were, for example, With a focus on trade finance and real-world asset tokenization use cases, Anchor announced last week that they've integrated the XDC network into its remote procedure call RPC service to aid in simplifying dApp development. Now, talking about development, I did not know this, but guess what? We've seen an 800% year-over-year increase in full-time developers on the XDC network. I did not even know this. I didn't know it until I seen Crypto Eddie post this video the other day, and I was just like, this is crazy. So check this out. So the GP at Electric Capital, 21,000 open source monthly active developers in August. The XRP Ledger up 3%, Stellar up 64%, and then XDC up 800%. 70,000 unique deployers on EVM. Now, I think the reason why we are seeing so many developers on XDC is because XDC is very similar to Ethereum. Very similar to Ethereum, except, of course, the efficiencies are far greater. As you guys do see here, 0 fees, instant confirmation, smart contract support, transactions per second, and even the energy consumption. XDC is really becoming a dominant force in this market. Whether you like to admit it or not, it's okay. Xinfin has become a giant. Listen closely to this video.
So right now we're resting at about 21,000 open source monthly active developers. And it's really important to know that this is an undercounting of the total number of developers in crypto. Open source means that Coinbase is not open source, game developers are not open source, a lot of applications and front ends are not open source, but it does give us a trend line and kind of starting point for understanding the level of development in the space. We're also, just this past month in August, across some of the top EVM, Ethereum virtual machine compatible layer 1s and 2s, we're seeing over 70,000 unique deployers of smart contracts on chain. So there's still a ton of activity. We also looked at, we pivoted the data to look at who's actually leaving. It turns out that the developers who are leaving are developers who have been in crypto for 12 months or less, and they contribute 20% of the code, meaning that developers who have been in crypto for more than 12 months, they contribute more than 80% of the code, and they're not going anywhere. They're staying and they're building. A lot of crypto-curious developers poke their heads in, participated in hackathons, built side projects, and those developers have tended to leave. There are fewer new developers entering the space, but the developers who have been here, who are working on those meaty projects, who are contributing most of the code, they're as dedicated as ever, and they're here.
And I think that this is, I think that this is very exciting, simply because, listen, as we look at the ecosystem around Xinfin, although, yes, there's some great names on here, it's still very well early. But if we are seeing 800% year-over-year growth rate on developers, that is massive. That also tells me that, well, guess what? We are going to see that ecosystem really kicking up. This should also get you very excited for the next major cycle. Because guess what? If we are seeing developers like this on Xinfin, it is going to be a giant in the next cycle. I also think that this is why XDC could surprise a lot of people in the next cycle. I think that XDC could very well be a shocker. And the reason why is because, going back into the last cycle, like if we go all the way back to 2019, right? Going 2019 into 2020, this thing surprised a lot of people. I remember people couldn't even believe that XDC was at nearly 20 cents. Going into the next cycle, I already said it. I strongly believe that $1 is going to be the major target for XDC, but we could see much higher. You got to remember that this is an asset that has 14 billion circulating supply. Even going off of the total supply, it's still less than, most of the top tier blue chip assets in the space. Now, outside of that, going back to the weekly update, we also seen the Trade Finance Investor Day coming up. Now, why is this very exciting? Well, one, we recently just seen tokenized US Treasuries arriving on XDC. And the reason why I bring this up is because it seems as though this is going to be a major talking point at this event. If we actually look into this event, check out all of the major players here. First off, this is going to be on October 19th through the 20th. So tomorrow this begins into the next day. And look at all these players. You have Goldman Sachs, Deutsche Bank, Santander. These are huge players, and the list goes on and on and on here. And XDC is a major player. You also have TradeFinix, which again is XDC powered. You also have a few other players from the XDC ecosystem. You also have the ITFA, which again is going to be there in good fashion, really talking about some of these major trade finance initiatives that have been taken in the last couple months, including, of course, the electronic trade documents bill. There's a lot to talk about. Trade Tech's going to be there as well. I mean, this is very exciting. Now, also, beyond this, we actually have the full PDF file on what they are going to be talking about there. So they give us a little bit of a breakdown on some of the behind the scenes regarding the event. And then here we have day 2. Because day 1, there really isn't a lot. It's more so like, just a sort of invitation, kind of breakdown and arrival, stuff like that. But here's day 2. So we have providing the market with the right infrastructure to scale deal flows. Then we also have what roles can asset management play in building a sustainable asset class. This is more so where we talk about the growth behind institutional investment and things like that. And this is with Goldman Sachs, actually. Very exciting. And then on the next slide here, we have session, the investor panel, bringing new capital markets liquidity to increase trade originators' capacity. And then we also have down here, presentation, how will tokenization help the trade industry close the SME funding gap? This is from XDC specifically. Then down here, we have just product showcase. This is with the TFDI technology highlights. This is a case study of Trade Tech's marketplace infrastructure and how technology can enhance trade finance deal workflow. Then, of course, the legal revolution in trade financing and digital assets. This is more so the electronic trade documents bill because this is from the ICC United Kingdom. And then also securing UK's position as a global crypto hub, ITFA's roadmap for institutional investors, the originating panel. This is just aligning with investors to attract more liquidity and grow origination. And then also, last but not least, power pitch by SME focused lenders. And then down here is the overall networking coffee break. But then we get the Electronic Trade Document Act as seen by distribution expert. And a lot of this is from Lloyds Bank, who was the first major one to make history regarding this act, making a lot of the first transactions regarding utilizing DLT and tapping into blockchain. But then we also have from XDC Trade Network, this is Power Pitch Part 2, really kind of pitching the overall transformation happening behind the scenes with DLT and blockchain, and then closing remarks. So this is going to be very exciting because, again, like this is a lot of major players behind the banking and the trade finance scene. Like these are major institutions and financial giants. I'm very excited for the future. I think that Xinfin is playing a key role behind all of this. And as we really kind of look at the future, I just don't see how XDC is not a giant in the space. I'm not going to say top 10, but at least top 20. And that is going to be a big moment for XDC, in my opinion, because, hey, if we're talking even just, 15 billion market cap, that's a huge level for XDC from today's level. So I'm very excited for the future. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. I think that XDC is a giant. Let me know what you guys think. And if you guys did enjoy the video, definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on because more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord down in the description below. And with that being said, guys, this has been Nick. Peace out.